Have you ever felt it? That profound, aching emptiness that whispers to you in the dead of night, telling you that you are not alone, that someone, somewhere, is waiting for you on the other side of destiny. If you've ever felt doubt crush your chest, making you believe that your life is just a series of random, meaningless events, then you need to hear this. That feeling is a lie. This is not a story about coincidence. It's a revelation, a profound invitation to uncover the truth that your path is already carved in stone and that a divine power has already decided who will stand by your side. This is the secret that Carl Jung himself glimpsed, an invisible architecture guiding our very existence, hidden within the collective unconscious. And in this video, I will give you the proof. I see that so many of you find your way here, seeking this truth, yet a huge number of you who watch these videos haven't subscribed. If this message is already stirring something in your soul, take 1 second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It ensures you won't miss the truths we uncover next. And please, press the like button. It tells the universe we need more of this knowledge. To feel the power of our connection, comment below and tell me, where in the world are you watching from? I want to see just how far these life-changing teachings of Carl Jung can travel to help souls like yours. Now get ready, because what I am about to decipher with you is not about passive hope, but about activating a divine synchronicity in your life. We are going to unlock the hidden signs your subconscious is screaming at you, signs that are already aligned with your deepest inner longings. This is the truth that can transform your life, and it begins right now. Every time your heart beats with unease and asks you if true love exists, if someone resonates with you to the soul, it is because there is a destiny that already knows. The modern ego battles with that notion. We prefer to believe in free choices, in coincidences, but Jung challenged that narrative. Until you make the unconscious conscious, the subconscious will direct your life and you will call it destiny. And if that destiny is not something abstract, but the divine design that has already assigned you a soulmate, stay with me. Feel that each sentence is not just another text, but a current that seeks to shift your perspective. Do not dismiss the signs, recurring names in your dreams, songs that seem to speak to you, disconnections that free you from wrong relationships. Every symptom of internal rupture prepares the ground for something more authentic. God has already cleared the path, has already set aside what does not belong, and will soon reveal the person who is aligned with you in essence and purpose. Now, I want you to do something crucial. If you feel that this message can awaken someone you know, share it with them, because maybe today is the day that revelation flourishes. And if it resonates with you from the deepest part of your being, write a comment below. What signs have you received? What has silently stirred your conscience? Your truth can ignite that of others. Breathe, and let me add depth. In the most intimate part of the being, many feel fear. Fear of abandonment, of not being enough, of repeating painful cycles. Jung taught us that this fear has a face, the shadow. But in the confrontation with the shadow, true light is born. Because the fact that God has already decided who will be by your side does not mean that you will find them without first finding yourself. The path to that divine person requires radical authenticity. It requires observing your wounds, talking to your fears, transforming your loneliness into wisdom. Only then will you be in total harmony with that greater design. Perhaps you imagine that person as perfect, immaculate, free of imperfections. Let me tell you, perfection is not the absence of flaws, but coherence with one's own destiny. And if they are destined for you, they will be imperfect like you, but will reflect your essence and complete your purpose. That is the divine design that is already at work, even before you find it. Every detail of your story so far has been woven. Your failures, your successes, your solitudes, everything has been part of a great cosmic tapestry. Now I ask you, are you willing to recognize that design? Are you ready to stop searching out of impulse and start observing through revelation? Stay on this journey. This is just the beginning of the first great block of reflection that invites a deep inner opening. Later we will address how to recognize signs, how to align your conscious mind with that destiny, and how to prepare to receive that person who has already been decided by God, all with psychological self-reflection, philosophy, and authentic Jungian references, without imitation, without superficiality. I thank you infinitely for being here, for listening to the voice of transformation that does not speak loudly, but in whispers of truth. Remember, God has already decided who will be by your side. Do not look for coincidences. Observe in revelation, but even knowing that someone has already been chosen for you, there is a question that does not leave you. Why then have I suffered so much? Why have I given my soul to people who only left rubble? Where was that destiny when they broke me, when they betrayed me, when I felt invisible? These questions are legitimate and are also the beginning of your awakening. Because pain, although no one wants to admit it, is a sacred teacher. What you called failure was training. What you called loss was purification. God does not play with your emotions, but He does prepare you for something you are not yet ready to receive when you are blind with desire, when you are obsessed with emptiness. Destiny does not reveal itself to impulse. It reveals itself to maturity. And maturity does not come from pleasure. It comes from brokenness. That is why it is necessary for you to fall apart before the right person appears. Only one who has died symbolically can recognize what is true, and you are now being reborn. Jung would say that the process of individuation, that search for the integration of the complete being, is not achieved on sunny days, but when the soul faces its dark night, and that night is the place where true relationships are forged. Why? Because whoever has traversed their own shadow, no longer seeks love to fill a void, but to share the abundance of their awakening. Destiny does not unite two bodies that need each other. It unites two souls that have already learned to be complete. Let me ask you a direct question. Have you stopped to observe what kind of people you have attracted when you were disconnected from yourself? Relationships based on anxiety, on the need for validation, on the fear of loneliness. They were not mistakes. They were mirrors, and each one of them showed you the hidden face of what you had to integrate. You were not a victim, you were a learner. And if you have been brave enough not to give up, if you are still reading this, then you are closer to true love than you have ever been. Because now you know. God does not send that person when you ask for them with desperation. He sends them when you are aligned with your essence, when you no longer seek out of lack, but recognize fullness in yourself. There, in that state of radical authenticity, magic happens. The unconscious becomes conscious. The soul is illuminated. The other appears. And it will not be as you imagine. It will not be a dramatic encounter or a movie story. It will be something more subtle, a feeling of recognition. I already knew you, even if it is the first time. Jung would call it synchronicity. It is not coincidence. It is not chance. It is the exact moment when two stories, two processes, two scars find resonance, not to save each other, but to walk together. I want you to understand this with total clarity. No one appears in your life by chance, but not everyone is destined to stay. The soul knows it, even if the mind denies it. There are people who come as tests, as lessons, and others, the few, the essential ones, who come as confirmation. And when that person arrives, there will be no doubts. You will not feel anxiety or fear. You will feel peace, because the soul does not doubt what it has already recognized in the depths. Maybe you are tired. Maybe you think it is late, but let me tell you something. It is never too late for one who decides to live with purpose. It is never too late for one who has decided to stop looking outside and start observing inside. Because everything you need to recognize that person is already in you. You just need to silence the noise, connect with your truth, and allow life, that life that God has already written with millimeter precision, to manifest itself. You are closer than you imagine, but do not. Look outside expecting magical signs. Look at yourself. Review your path. Observe how every farewell, every fall, every silence has brought you here. You are not lost. You are being prepared. I want you to breathe deeply and feel these words not as a speech, but as a reminder. You are not alone. Someone has already been chosen for you, And that person is also living their own process, facing their own shadows, traversing their own labyrinth. And when you are both ready, you will meet. Not before, not by pressure, but by alignment. That is why today I do not ask you to wait. I ask you to work on yourself, to become the being you yourself would want to be with, to become the most honest, most integrated, most awake version of yourself. Because only from there will you recognize what is truly destined. Preparation is not punishment, it is confirmation. And if you feel that you have been tested harshly, perhaps it is because the gift that is coming is great. Perhaps it is because God is not improvising, He is fine-tuning every detail. So remain, observe, feel, live each day with presence, with awareness, and when you least expect it, that person will appear, not to complete you, but to walk with you, not to fill your void, but to share the fullness of two souls who chose to live from the truth. This is the power of destiny. This is the proof that nothing was in vain. This is the promise that everything you have lived was preparing you for the most important encounter of your life. Do not give up now. You are about to see how everything fits together, and when that happens, you will know for sure. It was not coincidence, it was God. There is a truth that hurts more than any loneliness. Having become accustomed to living without expecting the extraordinary. That silent resignation disguised as maturity is the true enemy of destiny. Because when you stop believing that there is someone who has already been chosen for you, you begin to accept whatever, whoever, just so you are, not alone. And right there, you deviate from the path that God traced for your soul. Do you realize? It is not about having faith in a romantic idea, but about reconnecting with a certainty that dwells in the deepest part of your unconscious. That certainty that, according to Jung, is part of the self, the archetype that contains our totality and that pushes us to complete ourselves through the encounter with the other, but not with just anyone, with someone who reflects your most intimate truth, not your most urgent lack. And this is where many get lost. They confuse intensity with connection, need with destiny, chemistry with meaning. But the soul does not fall in love with masks or appearances. The soul recognizes vibrations, listens to silences, perceives truths that have not yet been spoken. And when that destined person appears, there is no confusion. There is calm. How to recognize them then? How to know if you are in front of that soul chosen by God? It is not with logic. It is not with lists. It is with deep intuition, with that sigh that you cannot explain, with that peace that invades even in chaos. That person does not impress you. They mirror you. They do not seduce you. They reveal you. And most importantly, they do not rescue you. They accompany you, because you have both already rescued yourselves before. In your own abysses, there are signs you cannot ignore. Have you noticed how certain people arrive at exact moments in your life, almost as if they were answers to questions you did not even know you had? Have you felt that someone appears just when you are ready to leave behind patterns that have destroyed you? That is not coincidence. That is divine synchronicity. It is the way the universe conspires to bring you closer to what already belongs to you by spiritual right. But be careful, many times that destined person does not come wrapped in what you imagined, because destiny does not adjust to your expectations. It adjusts to your evolution. They may not have the appearance you dreamed of, but they will have the vibration your soul needs. They may not say all the right things, but they will say what is essential. And more than that, their mere presence will activate a part of you that was asleep. Not so that you depend, but so that you awaken. Deep down, you already know who it is not. You have already felt it. That silent discomfort, that constant attempt to force something that never flowed, that contradiction between what you wanted to believe and what your body was screaming at you in silence. Do not ignore your intuition anymore, because the more time you invest in what is not, the further you will be from what was already destined. And if this reflection touches you, if you feel that it has stirred something deep within you, I ask you something. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this right now. It may be that they are about to give up, to settle, to forget what their soul knows. Do not underestimate the power of a word sent on time. And also leave me a comment. Have you ever felt that someone arrived at the right time? Have you had signs that you cannot explain but that made you believe in something bigger than yourself? Your words can ignite the hearts of others. Now, there is an even deeper truth. To be able to receive that person, you must first free up space, not just physical, but energetic. And that implies giving up the old, the toxic, what no longer vibrates with you. God does not send blessings where fear still dwells, and many times that fear is disguised as attachment. How many times have you clung to someone just out of habit? How many times have you called the need not to feel empty love? True love, the destined one, does not feel like an addiction. It feels like home. And to recognize it, you need to have rebuilt yourself first. Jung spoke of meaningful coincidence, apparently random events that have a deep meaning. True love, when it arrives, is exactly that, a coincidence so perfect that it can only be the work of the divine. But only one who has tuned their soul can perceive it. Do not rush. Do not press. Do not beg for signs. Just align. Live with coherence. Be so yourself, so authentic, that whoever is destined will have no doubt in recognizing you. Love does not need promotion. It needs presence. And you are called to live from that absolute presence. Yes, there is someone who has already been chosen for you, and not because you are incomplete, but because you are destined to share. The soul did not come to this world to survive alone. It came to evolve in connection, but not just any connection. A connection that heals, that empowers, that elevates. And when it arrives, because it will arrive, you will know it. You will look into their eyes, and everything in you will say, "It is here," not because you need it, but because you recognize it. Not because it makes you happy, but because it activates your purpose. And there you will understand that all the paths, all the tears, all the losses made sense, because they brought you right where you had to be. So please do not despair, but do not get distracted either. The person God chose for you is not a product of chance. It is the result of your process, your surrender, your renunciation of the superficial. And it is closer than you imagine. Stay with me, because in the next block we will talk about how to prepare emotionally and spiritually to receive that destined love. We will enter the deepest levels of self-knowledge and talk about the most common traps that sabotage your encounter with true love. Do not miss it. Now is the time to look inward with brutal honesty. If you have read this far, it is because something in you resonates with this truth. You cannot keep waiting from the wound. You cannot keep believing that true love will arrive while your soul is still chained to old versions of you. There is a big lie that they have made us swallow, that love heals everything. It is mature, conscious love, chosen from the light, that transforms, but it can only arrive when you have already done the inner work. And what does it mean to do the work? It means, above all, to stop running, because we run all the time. We hide in occupations, in superficial relationships, in digital distractions, all so as not to hear the silent scream of the soul. You have not healed yet, and as long as you do not heal, you will attract more of the same. People who do not see you, bonds that wear you out, broken mirrors that only show your open wounds. Do you know what requires more courage than loving another? Loving yourself enough not to accept less than you deserve. Because true love does not test you. It sustains you. It does not confuse you. It reveals you. And if you have not found it yet, it is not because it does not exist. It is because you are still being prepared. Jung spoke of the process of integration as a confrontation with everything we have repressed. The shadow, that hidden side that we deny, has the power to sabotage our relationships if we do not face it. How many times have you projected your wounds onto the other? How many times have you confused control with care, dependence with love, resignation with maturity? All of that is born from your unintegrated shadow. True love is not an exception to your patterns. It is the consequence of your transformation. That is why, as long as you do not transform, you will continue to repeat the same stories with different faces. And that is where many get lost. They look for the right person without having become the right person themselves. You cannot attract a healthy relationship from a wounded identity. You cannot recognize your soulmate if you yourself are disconnected from your essence. Destiny is not imposed. It is activated from consciousness. It is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of frequency. And when I say frequency, I am not referring to a spiritual trend. I'm talking about your real emotional vibration, your thoughts, your emotions, your daily decisions. Everything creates an energy that communicates to the universe who you are, and the universe responds. That is why, when you find yourself in an endless chain of people who fail you, it is not because love does not exist. It is because you are emitting the frequency of someone who has not honored themselves. So, how do you prepare? Start with the simplest and most difficult thing, the truth. Be brutally honest with yourself. Are you ready to receive someone who loves you in your totality? Or are you still waiting for someone to save you? Are you willing to love without losing your individuality? Or do you still believe that loving is merging until you disappear? The person God chose for you will not come to complete your story. They will come to write a new chapter with you, and that chapter can only begin when you have closed the previous ones. Not from forgetting, but from understanding. Every ex, every failed relationship, every broken illusion was a mirror of what you needed to see in yourself. Not so that you hate who hurt you, but so that you are grateful for what they revealed. Can you do that today? Can you look back and see each of them not as mistakes, but as fragments of the path that brought you here? If you can, then you are ready for the next step. Because true love does not appear in the midst of revenge or resentment. It appears when there is space, when the soul is clean, when the heart without fear dares to open again. That love will not come to push you to the edge of the abyss, but to take your hand and say, you are no longer alone. But to get there, you must be the one who first says that to yourself. You must be the one who, looking in the mirror, declares, I no longer need to be saved because I have myself, and from that fullness, whatever comes will be a bonus. Not a necessity, not an urgency, just expansion. Perhaps you have heard it said that when you stop searching, it appears. But that is not magic. It is spiritual logic. Because when you stop searching, it is because you have already found something in yourself. And from there, your energy changes, your presence changes, your choice changes, and what you attract changes too. So, what is the practical step? Forgive, close, renounce, let go, be grateful, raise your frequency, live with integrity, talk to your soul, meditate, write, cry, and above all, decide every day to live as if you were already walking to the encounter of who was chosen for you. Not from anxiety, but from certainty, because certainty is the language of the soul. And if you ever doubt, remember this. The story is already written. You just have to align with it. What is meant for you does not need to be forced. What is for you does not compete, does not beg, does not hurt. What is yours vibrates with you, waits for you, manifests itself when you are ready. And what if what you thought was love was nothing more than an extension of your wound? And what if what you felt so intensely was not destiny, but an emotional repetition of your oldest lack? These questions are not comfortable, but they are necessary, because many times what traps us the most is not the other person, but the need for the other person to confirm our existence. This is the most painful blind spot on the soul's journey, confusing attachment with love, believing that because it hurts, because it burns, because it obsesses, then it must be real. But true love does not need to possess, does not want to control, does not generate constant anxiety. Mature love does not drag you down, it lifts you up. And if what you felt so many times destroyed you more than it built you, then it was not love, it was fear asking for attention. Jung was clear on this. As long as we do not make the unconscious conscious, we will continue to repeat the past as if it were the present. What does that mean? That most of your effective choices are not born from your freedom, but from your unresolved wounds, from those early programmings that made you associate love with pain, abandonment with desire, rejection with worth. Think for a moment about your past relationships. How many times did you fall in love with someone who was not available? How many times did you confuse intensity with depth? How many times did you justify mistreatment under the excuse that nobody is perfect? Each of those bonds was a mirror of your unconscious, a coded message that said, "Here is what you have not yet healed." And it is not about guilt. It is about responsibility. No one taught us to love consciously. We learned from lack, from urgency, from emotional dependence. We were programmed to believe that the other is the one who gives meaning, that love must hurt, that if you do not suffer, it is not true. But that is not love. That is emotional addiction. And like any addiction, it is insatiable. It always demands more. It is always on the verge of collapse. It always leaves a void that no presence can fill, because the problem is not the other. It is the unconscious contract you made with yourself, in which you decided that you would only be loved if you were perfect, if you did not bother, if you gave everything. But that too must be broken, because as long as you maintain that internal pact, you will continue to attract bonds that devour you. The person God chose for you will not come to complete that addiction. They will come to heal it, not from the outside, but by provoking a new state of consciousness in you. And for that to happen, you must let go of the martyr narrative, the one who always gives, the one who loves more. That narrative only perpetuates your role as a victim, and from there you can never build a relationship from equality, from reciprocity. Do you dare to break that pattern? Do you dare to choose differently? That implies giving up the known, because many times the toxic feels familiar, and the healthy, the balanced, is perceived as boring, as distant. But it is only because your nervous system has not yet gotten used to peace, and that is also reprogrammed with awareness, with time, with radical decisions. From now on, your measure of love should not be how much intensity a person generates in you, but how much peace you feel in their presence. Not how many butterflies, but how much emotional stability. Not how much they desire you, but how much they respect you. Because desire can be chemical, but respect is spiritual. And if you want to build something real, you need more than chemistry. You need a shared purpose. That person destined by God will not come to play with you, will not tell you half-truths, will not leave you in a constant state of doubt, because whoever is at peace with themselves generates peace in the other. And that is only possible when you are no longer available to repeat patterns, when your soul has said, enough of everything that takes you away from your center. And I know that breaking those cycles is painful. I know that there are bonds that, although they hurt you, you still miss. But it is time to be brutally clear with yourself. What you miss is not love. It is familiarity, it is habit, it is attachment. And if you do not let it go, there will never be space for the real thing. The authentic does not enter where the ghost of the old still lives. Do an exercise now. Think about the relationship that marked you the most. Do not idealize it. Do not hate it. Observe it as a teacher. Ask yourself, what part of me was reflected there? What pattern was activated? What did it teach me about what I should not accept again? And when you have the answer, make an energetic, emotional, spiritual closure. Be grateful and let go, because the future cannot be sown on the ruins of the past. The preparation for real love is not done with flowers or songs. It is done with inner work, with therapy, with introspection, with limits, and above all, with a new narrative. One in which you are no longer the one waiting to be chosen, but the one who knows that you were already chosen by God to live something deep, conscious, transformative. Many people think that if God has already decided who will be by your side, then everything should be easy, spontaneous, like a gift wrapped in velvet. But the most challenging spiritual truth is this: the fact that something is destined does not mean it will arrive without effort. It does not mean it will manifest while you remain numb in distraction or waiting for miracles without movement. Destiny is not a lottery. It is a sacred co-responsibility. And here comes the great revelation that not everyone is ready to accept. That God has chosen someone for you does not mean you will receive them if you are not ready to sustain them. Because even the deepest blessings can become burdens if they arrive too soon. The love you are not prepared to inhabit becomes chaos, loss, trauma, not because it was not true, but because you were not yet the version that could sustain it. Do you see? It is not just about waiting for that chosen person. It is about actively working on being the space where that love can flourish. God did decide it, but you must also decide every day to rise to the level of what you have asked for. Because a soulmate is not a prize, it is a responsibility. And if you have not cultivated inner roots, that relationship can break you instead of expanding you. This is something many avoid. They prefer to imagine love as an act of external grace, as if the sky opened and everything fell into place. But the spiritual truth is different. God does open doors, but you are the one who must walk through them. And many times, walking through them means abandoning old versions of yourself, giving up comforts, exposing vulnerabilities, choosing authenticity over superficial acceptance. You cannot ask for a deep love while living a superficial life. You cannot ask for spiritual connection while you are still emotionally asleep. And above all, you cannot ask for someone to love you in their totality. If you yourself are not willing to look at your fragments, authentic spirituality is not what is recited, it is what is embodied. And if you truly believe that there is someone destined for you, then live each day as if you were already walking towards that encounter, not with anxiety, but with awareness, not with control, but with active trust. Faith is not passive waiting, it is aligned movement. Jung spoke of individuation as the process of returning to the center, to the totality of the being. And that does not happen just by praying or reading motivational phrases, or visualizing or listening to manifestation audios. It happens when you decide to live from an internal coherence that is not negotiated, when your presence begins to vibrate in truth, and that inevitably attracts whoever has also made that journey. Because the soul recognizes, and the soul does not connect with what you appear to be, but with what you sustain energetically. And if you still sustain anger, fear, distrust, that vibration will speak louder than your pretty words. But if you sustain self-love, clarity, emotional maturity, then you become a beacon, and what is yours will simply see it. Now, I want you to take a moment to look at your daily life. Where are you disconnected from your spirituality? At what moments do you forget that there is a greater purpose at stake? How many times do you act from impulse, from anxiety, from emptiness, and not from faith? Because that is the key. To live from active faith, the one that builds, that plants seeds, even when there are no fruits yet. Your routine, your choices, your current relationships, all of that speaks of your preparation. Do not expect magic if you live in incoherence. Do not ask for synchronicity if you have not stopped to listen to the voice of the divine that already whispers to you every day. Make space, clear the ground, align your heart. Because God does not shout, he whispers, and if you live in noise, you will never hear. So how do you cultivate that embodied spirituality? First, silence. Not just the environment, but your toxic internal dialogue. Second, presence. Return to the here and now. Because the soulmate is not found in the future, it is recognized in the present. And third, commitment. Choose to live with purpose, not to attract the other, but because it is what your soul deserves. And it is not necessary to be perfect. It is only necessary to be authentic. Because destined love does not seek ideal bodies or accumulated achievements. It seeks naked souls who dare to be seen, who dare to show themselves vulnerable without fear, who no longer negotiate their peace for company. Perhaps that person is already close, perhaps not yet, but it does not matter when. It matters how you live, how you decide, how you love your path, even in solitude. Because that love, the true one, will only appear when you are willing to stop hiding. And that, my dear reader, is true spirituality. In the next block, we will explore how that chosen person is also being transformed at this moment, how your path and theirs are intertwined without you even knowing it. We will talk about divine timing, which is not measured in clocks, but in inner evolution, and how when you are both ready, the universe will bring you together without room for error. As you read this, perhaps somewhere in the world, near or far, it does not matter. There is someone who is also feeling the same emptiness, the same search, the same longing for a connection that transcends everything they have known. Perhaps at this moment, that person is closing a cycle, making a brave decision, freeing themselves from a relationship that no longer reflects their truth, without knowing that each of those steps is bringing them closer to you. That is the silent beauty of divine timing. You are both being prepared at the same time, even if you do not know it, even if you do not even know each other. Because true love is not found. It is revealed when both have traversed enough of the inner path to support each other without collapsing. And if until now you have felt alone, if you have believed that everything you live has no meaning, listen well. The soul destined for you has also felt that. They have also walked dark paths. They have also loved without being reciprocated. They have also had to learn to let go. Because the love that unites from the divine requires maturity, and maturity is not born from pleasure. It is born from brokenness and reconstruction. Jung said that the most significant encounters of our lives are not the product of chance. And he was not only referring to happy encounters, but also to those that disarm us, those that break us. Because even those failed relationships are necessary to sculpt the soul until it becomes capable of sustaining real love. So, what is that person destined for you doing right now? They are waking up, they are becoming aware. They are recognizing that they can no longer continue to evade their inner calling. Maybe they are starting therapy. Maybe they are giving up a life that no longer represents them. Maybe they are finally looking inward again. And all of that, even if it does not have your face, even if they do not know your name, is preparing a place for you in their life. And the same thing is happening with you. Every step you take towards your authenticity, every wound you decide to heal, every fear you face with courage, all of that is part of the invisible fabric that unites your paths. Because when the soul aligns with its truth, the universe conspires with surgical precision for destiny to occur. But there is something else you should know. Not everything that seems like an encounter is one. Many times people appear who resemble destiny, but who are only rehearsals, tests not to confuse you, but to help you sharpen your discernment. Because before receiving the real thing, you must learn to say no to what seems to be but is not. And this is difficult because the soul sometimes gets tired, worn out, impatient. But this is where you must remember. Patience is not passive waiting. It is resistance with purpose. It is faith in motion. And that faith sustains you when doubt threatens to infiltrate. That faith is what tells you, trust. You are not alone in this. He or she is also walking towards you. Imagine that moment now. When you finally meet, there will be no fireworks or loud signs. There will be something much deeper, a silence full of meaning, a look that says, I was waiting for you. A hug that is in no hurry. Because true love does not come to save you. It comes to continue the work you have already started with yourself. And when that happens, because it will happen, you will not remember the lonely nights with pain, but with gratitude. You will not regret the lost time, but you will be grateful for every step, every breakup, every doubt, because all of that was part of the perfect design that brought you here. Because in love that is destined, nothing is superfluous, nothing is missing, everything fits. And what can you do? In the meantime, raise your level of consciousness, not to accelerate the process, but to inhabit it with fullness. Every day is an opportunity to align your life with what you truly deserve. Make your present a temple. Make your routine a ritual of preparation, and you will see how, without searching, the pieces begin to move. There is a phrase that Jung did not say literally, but that follows from his philosophy. We attract not what we want, but what we are. So ask yourself bravely, am I today the person my soulmate is looking for? Am I vibrating from authenticity or from fear? Am I walking in the direction of what I desire? Or am I still going in circles for not letting go of what holds me back? And if the answer is uncomfortable, then it is time to correct the course, not with guilt, but with self-love. Because every internal adjustment, no matter how small it may seem, is an echo in the energetic field that unites you. It is a sign to the universe that you are ready, that you no longer need distractions, that the real thing can arrive without masks. Synchronicity exists. It is not poetry. It is the science of the soul. and you are already within that process, even if you do not see it with your eyes. You are feeling it. You are living it. You are awakening it. And what if the biggest obstacle to receiving the love you have always hoped for was not the other person, but you? And what if you realize you have sabotaged every real attempt at connection out of a deep, ancestral fear, hidden under layers of self-sufficiency or need? There is a raw truth that almost no one wants to face. Many times true love knocks on the door, and we are the ones who do not open, not out of malice, not out of disinterest, but because being truly seen, being loved in the depths without masks, activates the most terrifying fear of the human being, the fear of authentic rejection. Because when someone loves you for what you pretend to be, the ego feels comfortable. But when someone approaches what you really are with your wounds, your history, your contradictions, then the alarm of the wounded soul goes off. And what if they do not like me like this? What if they leave when they see everything I hide? This is the silent dilemma that stops many just before they knock on the door of destiny. They have spent years asking the universe for a deep connection, but when it approaches, they flee. They protect themselves. They hide behind criticism, control, apparent independence, or on the contrary, they get lost in emotional dependence. And they begin to suffocate the other with demands that they do not even understand where they come from. This is where deep psychology and spirituality intertwine, with a devastating force. You cannot receive true love if you yourself do not dare to see yourself with honesty. Jung said it clearly, "What is not made conscious manifests in your life as destiny." And that destiny is not always a miracle. Sometimes it is a blind repetition of your fears. Therefore, emotional self-sabotage is not accidental. It is your unconscious's way of protecting you from a pain you once experienced and have not yet processed. Maybe you were rejected as a child. Maybe you were emotionally ignored. Maybe you felt that to be loved, you had to hide parts of yourself. And now, every time true love appears, your system defends itself. It creates chaos. It creates distance. It creates excuses. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever felt that you pushed away someone who truly loved you? Have you chosen impossible relationships just to avoid facing the vulnerability of a real relationship? Have you been the one to end things when they start going well? With some justification that deep down you do not even believe yourself. That is not bad luck. It is fear. And as long as you do not face it, destiny will remain on pause. Now, how do you break that pattern? Not from logic, not from willpower, but from radical compassion for yourself. Because you cannot fight fear, you can only illuminate it. You can only sit with it, listen to it, understand its origin. Ask yourself, what part of me feels threatened by true love? What story am I repeating? What past experience is still directing my present? The path is clear. You can only be loved authentically if you allow yourself to be seen. And for that, you need to get off the character. Stop trying to be what the other expects. Stop controlling the image. Stop seducing with masks. The soul does not seek perfection. It seeks truth. And whoever has been destined for you will come not to love you despite your cracks, but precisely because they will see them as portals to your most beautiful humanity. And are you willing to open up like that? To let yourself be seen? To show your insecurities without shame? Because that is truly loving. Letting yourself be seen without knowing if you will be accepted and still staying open. Real love is not born when everything is resolved. It is born when two souls decide to walk together, even with their storms on their backs. But there is a requirement. You must stop protecting yourself so much. Fear has served you for a long time. It has kept you safe, but it no longer serves you. It no longer protects you. It imprisons you. It is time to thank it and let it go. Because if you continue to obey it, you will continue to unintentionally reject what you most long for. Look around you, and then, after all the pain, all the searching, it finally happens. It arrives without warning, with no fireworks or dramatic music. It's just a moment, a single look across a room, a sudden feeling in your chest that you can't explain with words, and your entire being understands. The body doesn't tremble with anxiety. It doesn't panic. For the first time, it calms. It goes quiet. It finally feels home. That is the undeniable feeling of recognizing the soul God has already chosen for you. In that instant, your entire past collides with your present, and everything makes sense. You finally understand why nothing worked before, why you had to wait so long, why people had to break you into 1,000 pieces. It was never punishment. It was preparation, a sacred forging of your soul. Because if that person had arrived any sooner, you wouldn't have been ready. You would have tried to control them, demanded they fill your voids, and confused your neediness with love. You would have lost them. But destiny is precise. It waited for the exact moment you were no longer desperately searching, for the day you chose your own peace over companionship. This recognition doesn't happen on the surface. It's not about hobbies or skin chemistry. It happens in the deepest layers of the soul, where logic cannot go, but where every fiber of your being screams, yes, it is you. There is no anxiety, no games, only a profound certainty that changes everything. The person chosen for you doesn't complete your story. They arrive to walk beside you on the journey, to witness your growth, not as a savior, but as a reflection of your own awakened soul. This is the miracle. Not just finding someone who loves you, but finding someone whose very presence allows you to love yourself on a level you never thought possible. The love that comes from God doesn't take your freedom. It expands it. It doesn't shrink your world. It elevates it. You will look back and see that every tear, every lonely night, every single heartbreak was worth it. They were all sacred steps that cleansed you and brought you right here. Now I say this to you, who has made it to the end. Hold on. Trust. Your process is sacred because true love is not something you find in another. It is something you become, and when it is finally born in you, it inevitably appears before you. Thank you for your open soul. If this message has shaken you to your core, then your journey with us is just beginning. Subscribing to this channel is more than clicking a button. It is a commitment to your own awakening. This space is for you, and if these words have touched you, do not keep them to yourself. Share this video. You could be the answer to someone else's prayer right now, someone who needs to remember that destiny is real and that love is already written for them. Finally, leave a comment and tell me, which part of this story was yours? Your truth is not just a comment. It is a beacon of hope for others. Remember, for the last time, it is not coincidence. It is destiny, and it is already on its way.